Hello and welcome to 2024. There we go. Just wondering what's going on with that. Yep. It's going in 5-second intervals. That's weird. Anyway, hello, welcome to a brand new episode of Dylan Knows, the first one of 2024. I'm your host, Dylan Lang. It is January, 6th? Okay, January 6th, that's right. The anniversary of the insurrection 3 years ago. And feeling a little bit disappointed in the year so far. It's another slow week this week. New Year's Day was Monday. New Year's Eve was Sunday. So not a lot going on. Things should hopefully go back to normal next week. Things getting back on track. But there were some deaths. There were some news. A lot of football news, which I'm going to get into here in a little bit. Weather news, science news. Reese's peanut butter cups appear twice in the show. Stuff like that. So 2024, not changing up anything on the show. It's just same old show. It's just me. Just feeling a bit blah right now. It's supposed to be a good weekend. And I don't know, I just feel off lately. Been happening a lot lately, but we'll recap New Year's Eve, New Year's Day this week. Pokemon, Ravens, as I said, all kinds of good stuff. So should be done pretty quickly today. Since like last week, there wasn't a lot going on. Okay, yeah, okay. So just take a look at some stuff here. First up, let's just discuss New Year's Eve and New Year's Day real quick. So when I did the show last week, it was December 30th into December 31st. December 31st was Sunday, and we were going to do Christmas lunch and presents with my mom, and then go to my sister-in-law's house for New Year's Eve. The Ravens were playing the Dolphins for a chance to be the number 1 seed and for winning the AFC North. So originally during the week, I was going to take my mom to Melting Pot, which is a fondue restaurant in Towson, near where she lives, and we go back to her house and open presents. But when I went to check, since it was New Year's Eve, once I went to check the special menu they had, it was $87 a person, and we were going to have 5 people there, no sharing. This is what the set menu is, like that. So I was like, it's a little too high. So I found a place up here called Kekos, which is an Italian restaurant. Never been to it before, but I've heard lots of good things about it. So I told my mom, and she, I guess, seemed a little disappointed, but she's like, okay, we'll do it. So I went and picked her up. Me and my son picked her up on Sunday and drove up and met my family at the restaurant. And we get the menus, and the minute we get the menus, my mom starts freaking out because she can't read the menus because the names of the entree, stuff like that, are in Italian. And then underneath, even though displayed underneath it describes what the thing is, so it was like chicken parmigiano. It was like chicken parmesan, So she was getting a little bitchy about that. Then she didn't know what she wanted. And then she wanted tea to calm her nerves. And they brought the tea, but the silverware on the table did not have spoons, had a fork and a knife. So she was like, how am I going to be able to stir my stuff? So I had to find the guy. There was only one guy working. He was the host and the waiter. It wasn't very busy. There was only maybe 1 or 2 other people in the restaurant at the time. So I found the guy who was busy, doing his own stuff. So I asked to get a spoon. He said he'd get it to us. So he was going to, and then I get down, tell her that we'll get one real quick, and then like not 2 or 3 minutes later, I'm going to get up and get a spoon. I was like, the people who are up at the front are the chefs, they're not going to have a spoon. Just sit down and relax. I got a spoon. So the guy brings a spoon, and then he leaves. And then mom's like, "Where's the sugar? I need sugar for my tea." So like, oh, fine. So I had to try to find the guy again to get the sugar, and able to get it, but I just sort of lost it on my mom a little bit because she was just, I don't know when I eat. It's too expensive. There's nothing here I really want. I can't understand what it's saying. And I think talking to my wife, she's like, I think my kids hate me. And she just all that started to get on the verge of tears. I was like, oh my God, what the hell is the matter with you? Which was not the best. I didn't say it to her, but I raised my voice a little bit with her. So we settled down eventually, and we got the sugar, and I convinced her to get the chicken parmesan because that's what she said she wanted, something with tomato sauce. So we got that. And then the entree comes out, and it's two big chicken parmesan fillets, and a side of spaghetti. Was the spaghetti mentioned in the menu? Because that's too much food. I was like, no, it wasn't. It's way too much food. I should have just gotten a sandwich. It's like, no, you wanted something with tomato sauce. And I said, and you can take it home and reheat it up. You don't have to eat it all right now. But it's so expensive. It's not expensive. Don't worry about that. Can I help pay for it? No, you cannot help pay for it. She kept going on and on about wanting to pay something for it. And then I just had to. So we got back after that. We got back to the house, and then we opened presents. And then she stayed for a little bit, and then she calmed down a little bit. But then I take her back home because she wanted to go back home. And so took her back home, and then came back to our house. During that time, the Ravens game was on. I got to watch a little bit of it in the restaurant because they had it on in the restaurant, but I was not, really watching a whole lot of it because my mom was there and I wanted to spend time with her. So I was periodically checking my phone, and it was looking good for us for a while. So then after I drop her off, I checked to see what the final score is, see if I can turn on the radio to see what's going on. And it was 51 to 19 or 17 or something like that. So the Ravens took care of business. They won the game decisively against the number 2 seed in the AFC. They clamped down on the number 1 seed, so the number 1 seed. So all the games in the playoffs, if we continue to win, have to go through Baltimore. So we have to have our game will be in Baltimore, and then if we win that one, the championship game for the team that goes to Super Bowl will be in Baltimore also. And then we won the AFC North. Everyone said the Bengals were going to do that. They were in last place, and they still probably will be in last place with the Steelers win today. We'll get that in a second. So that turned out to be pretty good. Then we went to my sister-in-law's house, and we had a fine time. We watched a little bit of regular football that was going on there, and talked to my brother-in-law Mike, who had similar issues with my mom. And it was just us kids, but my mother-in-law and father-in-law were not there. They were getting ready for us to all go to their house on New Year's Day. And then my Aunt Catherine, who's very creative, not my Aunt Catherine, my sister-in-law Catherine, who's very creative, created a escape room for the kids to keep them from looking at their phones and stuff like that, because she was very anti that. So they had to do the escape room, which was fun. And then Mike did his, fiery drinks that he made last year. He made them again this year. And then we actually stayed through midnight this time. I forget why we left early last year. I forgot why we did that, but we did. But this year we stayed through midnight, and then actually stayed till about 1 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, we got to go, because I didn't feel like spending the night at their house. So I had to go back to our house got back to the house about 1:30, and everybody went right to bed. And then we were able to get up on our own for the most part, and then make our way down to my in-laws' house on New Year's Day for Christmas there. And that was a very laid-back, easy Christmas. There was no fancy eating arrangements. They just made the food eat wherever you want to. We had the college football playoffs going on. And then we opened presents, and we did a white elephant thing. And that was that. And then we came back, and then I had off that Tuesday, the 2nd, where my wife and my kids, who had been off for the whole week between Christmas and New Year's, had to go back because I had to get emissions done on my car. So I got the emissions done in my car, and it was passed. So I passed that. Don't do it again for 2 years. And then I came back to the house and slept for 3 hours, which I really didn't want to do, but I did. And then I just sort of lingered around, didn't really do much, and then went out to lunch and then the grocery store and came back and just so it was kind of a wasted day off. I didn't really do much except for sleep, and then back to work on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then this week they were calling for snow all week to hit hard on Saturday. First off, it was supposed to be Saturday night into Sunday, and then they shifted it was moving faster, so it'd be all day Saturday, be out of the way by Saturday. So we found out that the Ravens were playing the Steelers on Saturday night, 4:30 p.m. to open up the final week of the regular season. And because we clinched everything, the Ravens were going to sit all their starters, but we'll get that in a second. And then, so I was expecting, they kept downgrading it. So the final call was 1 to 3 inches here in Reisterstown, turning over to rain and then getting out of the way by about 10 o'clock tonight. So I get up about 9 a.m. and there's sleet, which is okay. That's what it's going to start off as. So sleet a little bit. Then I go downstairs and it starts to snow a little bit. Nothing major. And then by about 11 a.m., there was no more snow and just rain. And it's just been raining all day. So 1 to 3 inches of snow didn't happen. The weathermen blew it again. It was a bust of a storm. They've been jacking it up all week, saying it's going to be first concentrated snow of the year, blah, blah, blah. And we got nothing. Baltimore City got nothing. The rest of Baltimore County got nothing. It was just a rainy, dreary day with some slick points for some freezing rain. It was also Community Day today, so my wife and I drove around and did a Rowlett Community Day, so that was kind of fun to do that. And then came back and watched the Ravens game. We'll talk about that here in a second. But that's one of the reasons why 2024 has been a disappointment for me so far was, first off, on my day off, sleeping most of the day away. Second, the snowstorm we're supposed to get 1 to 3 inches would have been nice. That snowstorm we didn't get, that made me disappointed also. And then the Ravens-Steelers game made me disappointed also. So that's what's going on. That's what's on with that. So that's a little bit why I'm disappointed in 24. And there's some other things going on. The whole thing with my mom and some stuff with my wife and my family, which is annoying me a little bit. But we're not going to get into that right now. I've already talked enough about that. So we're going to talk about the Ravens here real quick. I know this is probably not of interest to you guys, but I will get to the rest of the stuff here. But this is interesting to me because this is a big deal. The Ravens are my football team. They are the number 1 seed in the playoffs. They are the AFC North champions. So that happened on the 31st, and they destroyed Miami. And in that game, both Lamar Jackson and Tyler Huntley, who came in the fourth quarter to back him up, both had perfect passer ratings, which is the first time that's ever happened in an NFL game. So that's kind of pretty cool. The Lamar for MVP talk heated up during that time. That's pretty good there too. And then this week we picked up Dalvin Cook from the Jets to help bolster our running back room, and he's a pretty good running back as well. We had the Pro Bowl announced their players today. The Ravens had 7. They were second to the 49ers, who had 9 players go to the Pro Bowl. I can't read what that says. And then we had the Steelers game, which disappointed me because we were the number 1 seed and because we were expecting rainy, snowy sort of stuff, they decided not to play a lot of our starters. So Tyler Huntley got the start, and a bunch of our backup stuff like that came in. It was a rainy, messy game, and the Steelers ended up winning 17-10. But it was a sloppy game. Our offense couldn't get anything done. Lots of fumbles. We got some sacks, and the Steelers fumbled 6 times, and we only landed on it once or twice. So we should have decimated them. They lost their big offensive lineman or the pass rusher and TJ Watt to a knee injury, but it's not bad, so he'll probably be back in time if the playoffs if they make it. So we'll see what happens with that. So it was a good week for the most part for the Ravens, except for this game on today, but it has no bearing on anything. It's just that the Ravens are 1-7 against the Steelers in their last 4 years they played them, and that's disappointing. And the fact that our backups couldn't pull out the win on a sloppy game, that also didn't help any. So I'm feeling a little bit down about that. But the Ravens are Ravens. They have off next week. So next week is super wild card weekend. They have like 2 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday, and 1 game on Monday. So it's going to be all crazy there. So that's all football we're going to talk about for now for a little bit. Because I want to get you guys interested in some other stuff, and then we'll get back to the football on that. Percy Jackson season episode 4 came out. We watched that this week. Continuing the story, but this episode seemed extraordinarily fast, and I didn't like how it was edited because it just sort of ended, and that's it. It didn't really have a resolution to anything, and it's just really like, okay, it's the halfway point, and there's still a lot of story left. And it seemed more like a fluff piece, really, to be honest. But still, I guess maybe you could put that in the disappointed in 24 also. So we'll see. I'm still going to watch it. I still enjoy it. It's still pretty good. So I'm going to keep watching it. But it's just the episode just seemed very quick and disjointed a little bit. But that's just me. 42-year-old male jumps naked into the aquarium at the Bass Pro Shop in Alabama. I just had to say that because that's just some weird, bizarre shit there. Bass Pro Shops are weird, bizarre places anyway, but they have some dude jump into the aquarium there naked. Yeah, okay, that's pretty interesting. The entire window of an Alaskan Airlines plane blasts out during mid-flight and makes an emergency landing, and no one died. So that's a plus, but still to have, you're flying and you're mid-flight, and all of a sudden a whole window just blows out, it's got to be extraordinarily frightening. And especially the person who was sitting next to that window must have been really, really crazy. So luckily, nobody died, and they were able to land safely and shift them, and they got to their destinations okay. So that's a good thing. So that's crazy. We Are the World documentary is coming to Netflix on January 29th. We Are the World is after the British pop stars of the 80s did Band-Aids. Do they know it's Christmas? The Americans said we can't let the British be the only ones who do it, so they created We Are the World and got all the big 1980s icons and Dan Aykroyd to be there as well. Hopefully the documentary will say, why is Dan Aykroyd there? Because he's not a singer. Well, I guess he is kind of from the Blues Brothers, but it just seemed rather odd. You see like Lionel Richie and Michael Jackson and who are some of the other I forget who some of the other American guys they had in there. And then all of a sudden there's Dan Aykroyd. Madonna was in there and Tina Turner and stuff like that. So it's just like, wow. So We Are the World documentary coming to Netflix January 29th. That could be, it might actually to watch that and probably do very well because that seems to be a really good, cool thing. Earthquake watch. Never heard of this before, but this is apparently a thing. An earthquake watch has been issued for the San Andreas Fault through January 8th, which I guess stays the 6th, so 7th, through Monday. They believe this is a what they call it, a foreshake. You have the aftershock, foreshock hit I guess yesterday. It was a 4.2 on the Richter scale in that general area. So that was not what they believed an actual earthquake. They believed what they called a forequake, which meant that a massive earthquake may be hitting the San Andreas Fault within the next couple of days. Hopefully it won't, and this is just like a little minor hiccup, but they wanted to do an earthquake watch so that people are aware that, hey, there's a possibility that, a massive 8-9 earthquake is going to rumble through Los Angeles, San Francisco, wherever the Richter scale affects. So be aware of that. A living skin is protecting the Great Wall of China from erosion. This is not some fake story or whatever. Apparently, rootless plants and microorganisms called biocrusts have either were put on there originally when the wall was built or made their way there anyway and are protecting the wall from being eroded because I guess these things, they eat the sand and the erosion and the water and stuff like that. So that's a kind of interesting little thing like that. Hubble Space Telescope sees wild weather raging on a distant, hot Jupiter-esque planet. It's always interesting that they can actually see that far and see these sort of weird sort of storm things happening. So that's pretty cool as well. A golden orb was found at the bottom of the ocean, and nobody knows what it was or what it is. So that's kind of interesting as well. Two daughters pull off a real-life parent trap and are able to get their divorced parents back together. It's not quite like the Parent Trap, where the Parent Trap had twins who were able to get their parents back together. These were just two daughters whose parents divorced, and they worked to try to get them back together, and it worked. So congratulations to them. Okay, I think that's all sciencey sort of stuff. Now just NFL one real quick, and then we'll get into some other stuff too. NFL defensive lineman will be the first player in football history, or maybe since 1935, I guess, to play 18 straight weeks of football without a bye. Now, how does that work? Well, he started the season off with the Giants, played there for 8 weeks, and then the Giants traded him to, I believe, the Seahawks. Now, the Giants' bye wasn't going to be until week 13. So here they are, week 8. They trade him. So he doesn't get to go to the bye. So he goes to Seattle. Seattle already had their bye. So he is playing the remaining schedule. I guess that's week 8. So 10 straight games with them. So he played the entire 18-week NFL, or will tomorrow when he plays, will play the entire 18-week NFL season, which is crazy to me. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So that was kind of a neat little story. All right, now we'll get into some more pop culture sort of stuff and then some food stuff. Actually, let's do the food stuff first, since there's not too many of those. Black and white cookie Oreos are the new Oreo flavor for this year. The black and white cookie that's both chocolate and vanilla, has like the yin and yang sort of sign sort of thing on it. Seinfeld did a whole joke about it. Anyway, it's going to be the new Oreo, so that's going to be out and about real quick. Chocolatey chip pancake Pop-Tarts is a new flavor I'd never heard of before. So chocolatey chip pancake flavored Pop-Tarts are due out here soon also. And just in time for Valentine's Day, actually, chocolate-covered strawberry-flavored Peeps are going to be out. Normally, Peeps are considered for Easter, but Peeps are now out for every season. And for some reason, Valentine's Day is always the chocolate-covered strawberry capital of the year or something like that. I remember the Weiss when they first opened up and they had their Valentine's Day. Like, they might still do it. I just haven't been there, I guess, in Valentine's Day. They have a Valentine's Day section in their produce area where they have all this stuff, and they have all these actual chocolate-covered strawberries already made and stuff like that. I think they had them being made live also, first time that they opened up there. So I guess it's a thing, I guess chocolate-covered strawberries is a Valentine's Day thing and not anything else. Spy X Family Code White, the movie continuation of the TV series, is dominating the Japanese box office as expected. It should be making its way here to United States soon enough, and it will probably dominate here since we've had both Miyazaki's most recent film and Godzilla Minus One dominate at our box office as well. When this one comes out, it'll probably dominate as well. Gerard Butler will reprise his role from the How to Train Your Dragons animated movies for the How to Train Your Dragon live action movie. It's always cool when you can get one of the original voices of the animated movie to portray the role in the live action version. I know it's not really live action in this one, but to get James Earl Jones, who did the voice of Mufasa in the Lion King cartoon in '93, and then to have the live action Lion King come out and him voice Mufasa again is really impressive. So pretty good about that. The Alien TV show that's set to star Tim Oliphant has also cast Mo Barrell. So that's going to be coming up here soon as well. Sterling K. Brown wants to play a Green Lantern, probably Jon Stewart. Probably be a very good Jon Stewart, honestly. To be honest, I think Sterling K. Brown is a very talented actor. And may well be the perfect choice for Jon Stewart. Julie Garner has joined the Blumhouse Wolfman movie. Leslie Bibb, Jason Isaacs, Michelle Monaghan, Parker Posey, Dom Hetrekind, and Tammy Tappenthong will be joining the new season of White Lotus, which is coming out here soon. White Lotus is one of those where they get big casts to come every season, and they are the cast for the full season on this island, and then stuff happens to them and move on. But they got a pretty interesting cast there. Love Lies Bleeding trailer, the new movie from A24, is another one of these interesting sort of films. Stars Kristen Stewart, Katie O'Brien, and Ed Harris. And what makes it different than everything else is, on the surface, it looks like Kristen Stewart is a lesbian whose father is a mob boss sort of thing, and is embarrassed by her father, and the FBI is investigating some of the murders that they believe her father committed by talking to her. But she ends up falling in love with a female weightlifter. There are such things as the buff female weightlifters, and you never really see a female weightlifter in a movie unless it's as sort of a joke or whatever. But this is an actual weightlifter. I guess that's who Katie O'Brien is. And the two of them fall in love, I guess. And then they decide that they're going to try to take down her mob boss father. It looks interesting, but what just makes it really interesting is that one of the main characters is a female weightlifter, which is something that you don't really see very often. I think that's kind of cool. Hasbro has sold their film and TV business and are now $400 million in debt even after doing that. So we'll see what happens with that. That's like the G.I. Joe and Transformers and stuff like that. Some deaths this week. Glynis Johns, actress who was in Mary Poppins, The Ref, and While You Were Sleeping, passed away this week. David Soul, who played Hutch from Starsky and Hutch, he passed away this week as well. And Christian Oliver, the Speed Racer actor, died in a plane crash with his 10 and 12-year-old daughter. That's tragic. He was 42 years old, I believe. And that's it for this page. Ke Huy Quan is still continuing his streak of stuff. He getting good vibes for his Loki role, but now he signed on to his next film, an action film called With Love. Don't know much about it, but he will be probably the lead in that one now. The Netflix, well, let's first say January 9th, which is Tuesday, Disney Plus will be releasing the Echo series. They'll be releasing all 5 episodes at one time. And Echo is in the world of Kingpin and Daredevil. She was first introduced in the Hawkeye TV series, and Daredevil and Kingpin are set to appear in this series, and they're reprised by the roles of the Netflix Daredevil one, Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox. Charlie Cox has already appeared as Daredevil in She-Hulk, and Vincent D'Onofrio reprised his role as Kingpin in Hawkeye, and also Charlie Cox was Matt Murdock in Spider-Man No Way Home. So it was only a matter of time before they got them back in here, and they're going to start working on their own Daredevil series, continuing that. So, and I talked about this last week. People were screaming, why is Disney dropping all 5 episodes at one time instead of doing it weekly like they have been doing? And I told you, because this is going to feel more like a Netflix show. It is a TVMA series that Disney Plus is putting on. It's going to feel like the Netflix series, and the Netflix series dropped every episode at one time. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to get the Netflix people who thought that when Disney bought the Netflix library that they were going to Disneyfy and sissify up the Daredevil thing. And then they complained about it when Daredevil showed up on She-Hulk and made him look kind of foolish. But I thought it was clever. I thought it was funny as hell. His appearances in that. And Vincent D'Onofrio as the Kingpin continued to work in Hawkeye. And we got the first introduction of Echo in that one. So it's not because they don't have faith in the series, it's because they want the people who loved the Daredevil series on Netflix and the Punisher and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and Iron Fist and the Defenders and the Punisher and all that to like this as much as well. So it's like, instead of it going through a week, let's just release all of them so that the fans of those Netflix series can get that feeling again with Echo. So that's going to happen there. So that being said, they're doing the interviews for the show now. The actors are talking about it, stuff like that. And it was released that the Netflix Daredevil series is MCU canon. So people were talking about, no, it's not. It exists outside of time, its own division, multiverse, whatever. No, it is actually part of the Marvel Universe, MCU. Which you should have known anyway, because from the first episode, there's a scene at the New York waterfront where Avengers Tower or Stark Tower, whatever you want to call it, is in the background. So you knew it was part of the MCU, and originally was going to be part of the MCU, but then it was the whole pissing match between Kevin Feige and Jeff Loeb. That's been resolved with Jeff Loeb no longer being with the company. So the Netflix Daredevil is MCU canon. So put that in your pipe and smoke it, you haters. David Cronenberg's new film, The Shrouds, gets its first look with Vincent Cassel and Diane Kruger. It's a really cool-looking shot. It's just, these two people in this field at night with these lighted signs all in a row. It's kind of cool-looking shot there. Michael Mann plans to direct Heat 2, the sequel to his hugely popular 1995 film, which Heat 2, he's written the novel for it already. So he's just adapting his own novel, and he's going to make the movie. The only problem is it was made in 1995. It had Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Val Kilmer in it. But they're too old to be in this 30 years later. And Val Kilmer can't do it anymore because of his illness. And they killed off, I believe, De Niro's character anyway. So it's supposedly the story takes place immediately after the end of Heat, as we follow Val Kilmer's character who escaped, trying to get away from Al Pacino's cop. Now, not Brody, the guy who played Darth. No, not Darth Maul. Ben Solo. Adam Driver, actually. Adam Driver, yep. Adam Driver is set to portray the role of Al Pacino, and they'll cast somebody else to play the Val Kilmer role. So you're gonna have to, just sort of forget about the movie and just go with what they got. So he wants to shoot that this year for probably release in 2025, which would be the 30th anniversary of the original Heat. So it makes sense. Greg Capullo, who's had some illnesses, pretty good comic book artist, and issues with his family and stuff like that, is finally coming back to comics. He's done some independent stuff that he owns, stuff like that, but he's coming back to Marvel, and he will be drawing the new Wolverine comics. So that'll be a pretty a big deal for him. So that's pretty cool. The limited edition Valentine's Day Stanley Cups, which are just these pink coffee cups about this big, are creating chaos at Target. It's like one of the craziest thing. It's like, what you used to see Black Friday used to be like in the 90s and 80s, where it would be swarms of people just running into a shop and just tearing apart shelves for stuff for a little pink coffee cup. I don't understand why this is such a big deal. It's a stupid little coffee cup, and I don't understand it, but it is a big deal starting off this year with one of these little weird stories. So, okay. Hello Kitty Strawberry Shortcake Goldfish are coming out here soon. That's, I guess, just in time for Valentine's Day. Just seems kind of weird, though. Post Chips Ahoy cereal will be back on shelves. I didn't know that they had a Chips Ahoy cereal, but here we are. Capote versus the Swans trailer came out this week. It is a new FX, I believe it's a miniseries, due out January 31st. Stars this cast is stacked though: Naomi Watts, Diane Lane, Chloe Sevigny, Calissa Flockhart, Demi Moore, Molly Ringwald, and Tom Hollander. And it's based on a true story about Truman Capote and stuff like that. So it's a pretty interesting thing like that. Another big story for this week: a 13-year-old gamer is the first known to beat the original Tetris. Apparently there is a way to beat Tetris. Didn't know there was a way to do it, but he did it. The people who created Tetris, Nintendo or whoever was the one that they've said it is officially he is the first person to beat it. So it is official. So congratulations to him. January 23rd, the Oscar nominations will be coming out. And I believe, if I believe correctly, it is now Sunday the 7th. The Golden Globes actually will be this week. So actually I think I will be able to talk about something next week. The winners of the Golden Globes. I think the Golden Globes are January 7th. So the Golden Globes are current. So the first major, there's been a whole bunch of award stuff already, but the first major one, the Golden Globes, which is a huge precursor for the Academy Awards, and is movies and TV, and divided Best Picture into best and Best Actors too, right? Yeah. No, I think Best Picture is by itself. Oh no, it is Best Picture. They separate into musical and comedy and drama, and then they did that with acting also. So that's good. Yeah, the Golden Globes will actually be on later tonight. So it's after midnight, so it's actually January 7th now. But yeah, the Oscar nominations will be out January 23rd. The Golden Globes will be later tonight, about 8 hours from now. Speaking of the Oscars, Barbie, the writers Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach have been informed by the Academy that Barbie will now be considered an adapted screenplay and not an original one. So when it gets nominated, and it'll be under the adapted screenplay, because I guess Barbie is a creation that's already been out there, and you didn't create Barbie, or a lot of the characters are kind of stuff like that. So you can't really call it original since you didn't create the characters. I think that's the basis behind it. And it seems fair. It's good enough. So And besides, I don't know, Oppenheimer, I think, is going to be for adapted screenplay because I think it's based on a book. So that'll be interesting. Yeah, should that be like, well, it's going to be Barbenheimer in the Oscars anyway. Whereas the Golden Globe's not going to be such a big deal because of the division between musical and comedy and drama. So they could both win, actually, which would be awesome. I would love it if Barbenheimer won the Golden Globes later today. Oppenheimer with the best drama and Barbie with best comedy. That would be so great. Well, we'll find out next week when I do my show. So that'd be cool. Blumhouse and James Wan's Monster company are merging, which to nobody's surprise is happening. They kind of said this is what's going to happen when they announced that they were going to do this, that James Wan was going to create his own thing and that he was going to work closely with Blumhouse. It was only a matter of time. I said, you know what, just come to the fold, and nothing's ever changed. So that's the biggest non-story, I guess, this week is that one right now. The first Omen, the prequel to the Omen horror film, is coming out on April 5th. The first trailer for that came out. It's your typical sort of horror type of film, like that. January 1st is also the beginning of more items and more things that come out of copyright, so you can use them for your own avail. A couple years ago, Winnie the Pooh, the S.E. Milne or A.A. Milne version, not the Disney version, became released into the public domain and immediately turned into a horror film. Well, Steamboat Willie, Mickey Mouse, and Minnie Mouse, who was in Steamboat Willie also, and Tigger, because Tigger will be in the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey sequel, are now public domain. So, of course, they were just waiting for the announcement. They have already done a Steamboat Willie Mickey Mouse horror film. It better be Steamboat Willie because that's the only thing that is in the public domain. You cannot do a regular Mickey Mouse because Disney still owns Mickey Mouse, but you can use the Steamboat Willie Mickey Mouse version, which means, if you are creative, you could do stories about, Steamboat Willie running a paddleboat casino, or you could do a horror movie if you want to. He's a serial killer who goes down the rivers on his steamboat and docks and kills people. It has to be the Steamboat Willie version of Mickey Mouse, not regular Mickey Mouse version. So, but of course, as I said, it automatically became a horror film called Mickey's Mousetrap. Not unexpected. Stephen Yeun has exited the Thunderbolts with all the delays and stuff like that, despite the fact they're starting filming this summer. He just said, nope, I can't do it, but I still want to make a Marvel movie. Well, it's like, why don't you just hang on for a little while longer and do this? But now Marvel's going to be on the lookout for a new new century, apparently, for Thunderbolts. They'll find somebody. It's still going to go. It's not going to go anywhere further behind. So it'll be all right. Bendy and the Ink Machine, I talked about that last week. They are getting a live action movie as well. They're also getting a brand new video game also coming out sometime soon. So good on that. Star Wars Outlaws, which was announced earlier last year. It is an open world Star Wars video game. Now has a tentative release date of the last quarter of 2024. So just in time for next Christmas. You could be able to download Star Wars Outlaws, the open world Star Wars video game, come up here soon. Godzilla -1 has hit $78 million domestically, which is great. But the Academy also announced their list of what movies are going to be available for voting on for the Academy Awards for foreign film. And Japan is sending over a different movie than Godzilla -1. So Godzilla -1 will not be up for best foreign film. Now, it could still be up for best picture if the Academy does their job correctly. I don't think it's going to happen because they see Godzilla and automatically think, we're not going to do that. It's a garbage film. It is an Academy Award caliber movie. absolutely should see it. Should have been Japan's entry into foreign film, but they decided they wanted to go a different way, which is fine. Because they probably are correct in doing that. Because again, as I just said, a lot of the Academy voters are still like, Godzilla. I'm not going to vote for Godzilla. That's stupid. Who would do that? And Japan wants to win foreign film, so they released one of their other big dramatic films. But it's just people need to see this movie and see it is Academy Award caliber movie. All right, let's see. Morris Chestnut will be starring in a CBS Sherlock Holmes medical drama, except it should not have Sherlock Holmes in it, but Morris Chestnut will be playing the role of Dr. John Watson, who is supposedly with Sherlock Holmes in this show. And Sherlock Holmes is a detective, but this will be focusing on Dr. John Watson's medical career. But it'll probably be a current, a present day version of it, not the old school version of it. Deadpool 3 teaser may, it's not been officially announced and will not be officially announced for a few weeks now, may make its debut in February. Now let's think about that. What could be coming up in February that very much could get a teaser for Deadpool 3 to get as many people to see it as possible? Could it be the Super Bowl? Yes, it can be. So right now, rumor has it that Deadpool 3's teaser trailer will debut as one of the Super Bowl commercials, because Super Bowl has the great commercials, and I will do my Super Bowl pick show again, stuff like that. That's not till February 11th. And on top of that, what you can do is, if you do release it during the Super Bowl commercials, you can attach it to Madam Web, which is due out February 14th. So that would work too, because it's within sort of the same Fox framework. It is a Marvel movie as it is. So it makes sense to debut it on the Super Bowl and then put it on Madam Web before Madam Web as well. So that would make perfect sense. So that just seems to be everything lining up for that. It would make perfect sense because the film's set to debut in July, so they've got to be very close to finishing it, or enough that they can do at least a teaser for it to get people interested and say, hey, you might want to look into this. And it would make sense. It's the type of movie commercial that the Super Bowl was made for. Going back to football again real quick, because why not? The 1949ers curse, the San Francisco 49ers curse is, this is a TikToks and reels and stuff like that. If I've fallen down the rabbit hole in this a number of times, there's a number of these conspiracy theory minded people who make these videos up and pull this shit out of their ass. But I found this one entertaining because it pertains to the Baltimore Ravens as well. So the San Francisco 49ers have lost 3 games, I think, 3 or 4 games. 4 games, because they lost the Browns, the Bengals, us, and one other team. Minnesota. That was during their bad phase, and then they beat their brains in a couple weeks ago, and that game's going to come into play here. So when the 49ers were going through their little bit of the decline, they played the Cincinnati Bengals, and they lost that one. The 49ers were only put up 17 points. But after that game, which they lost, 49ers had 17 points. Joe Burrow, the Cincinnati Bengals quarterback, was lost for the season due to an injury. Okay. It happens. He was looking injured against the Ravens. So it just made it even worse, but he was lost for the season. Okay. Then they played the Minnesota Vikings. And they lose that one, also only scoring 17 points on that one also. And right after that game, Kirk Cousins, the Vikings quarterback, was lost for the season. Now they went and played the Baltimore Ravens in San Francisco. So one of the early parts of the game, it looked like San Francisco was going to be in control of the game. There was one part where Lamar Jackson had the football and he was far down near his end zone. And San Francisco 49ers brought this rush and he was running backwards, ended up running into the end zone, his own end zone, trying to get time to get one of his receivers to open up or eventually find a place where he can just throw it like that. So he's getting ready to either throw it or run out of the end zone when the referee that's watching it trips and falls and Lamar runs right into him. And so I guess in his mind, so he doesn't get the safety, he launches the ball and it hits the ground incomplete, but it was called intentional grounding. Since the intentional grounding happened in the end zone, it's what we call a safety, which is 2 points. So San Francisco then led by 2 points. And then the Ravens took control of that game for the most part. And the final score was 33-19, the Ravens won against the 49ers. If that referee would not have fallen and tripped up Lamar and made him have intentional grounding, which got them the safety, the final score would have been 33-17. And Lamar Jackson might have been lost for the year, might have gotten injured in the game sometime and might have gotten injured and lost for the year. So the new theory is that the referee time traveled to make sure Lamar does not get injured and tripped him up and got that safety so that the curse of 17 did not affect the Baltimore Ravens. And it didn't. Lamar continued playing and he rested today and will be back up and ready to play in their first playoff game, which won't be till the 20th of January. So I found that kind of funny. I thought that was kind of a funny story, very creative. I don't believe it for a second, obviously, because time travel honestly probably doesn't exist, but I thought it was funny. Now, 2020 was a shit year. We can all agree on that. And it just seemed like every week something else was happening. This happened. We had snow in May. We had COVID. We had all this crazy stuff. Do y'all remember those killer bees that were coming supposedly from Japan to enter the West Coast and stings could kill you and stuff like that? So people were freaking out about that in 2020, but then you didn't hear anything else about it, because they were able to control it or whatever. Well, I'm getting that vibe again now here in 2024, 4 years later, another leap year. Venomous giant flying spiders from Japan are set to appear in New York State. How the hell do you get from Japan to the west coast of the United States? It's understandable. How the hell do you get Japanese venomous flying spiders to New York State? Oh, they're flying, I guess. But bees fly also, and they weren't heading for New York State. So I don't know. So I don't know. I guess that's somebody said that. I mean, they're been spotted, I guess, or whatever. Venomous flying spiders from Japan. Just getting 2020 vibes, and hopefully nothing comes of that. Speaking of like disasters and stuff like that, here's a twofer for you. A collision between a car and a truck. There was a car and then a truck containing more than $100,000 worth of fireworks on a Canadian major highway in Canada caused an hour-long fireworks show. Basically, when the car, rammed into the truck carrying the fireworks, it set off the fireworks, $100,000 worth of fireworks, and it kept going for an hour. I don't know if anybody was hurt or killed in that, but that happened this year as well. And this video surfaced as well. It was kind of weird. South Korea. A weird fog descended onto a South Korean town, and most people thought it had been, we're expecting fog. It's not unexpected to have fog appear in your town. But then it caught on fire and exploded, destroying many buildings and roads and stuff like that in the town. Again, don't know if anybody was hurt or killed, but there's actual video of this like fog, and then all of a sudden this massive fireball explodes. Turns out it was gas vapor, not fog. But the video is kind of interesting. And the video of both of these is out there now if you go to Reels and stuff like that. That's where I saw them. So, kind of wild. This is why the law system does not entirely work here in the United States, because people are trying to find the easy buck. That's why the lottery always makes a lot of money, because you have that goal of saying there's a possibility that you will never have to work again, and you'll have so much money you won't ever have to worry about money ever again. And it's a goal that everybody wants. They don't want to work, but they want to have money so they can buy stuff and survive and live and buy cool cars and houses and clothing and video games and stuff like that. And so you see that, and then you see it's not superfluous, but frivolous lawsuits. Here's a new one for you. Cynthia Keeler is suing Hershey's chocolate over the Reeses Halloween pumpkin, which are very good, by the way, Reese's pumpkins that was released in Halloween, because they weren't cute enough. Now, for those who don't know, the Reese's pumpkins and the Reese's Christmas trees are the best Reese's out there, because it's basically a giant-sized Reese's peanut butter cup, but in a cool form, in a cool shape. In this case, it's a shape of a pumpkin. There's not triangles for eyes and mouth and stuff like that. It's not like you're eating an actual like face of a pumpkin. It's the shape of a pumpkin. And the wrapping on the outside is to draw your attention. So they do put the pumpkin face on and say, hey, this is a pumpkin. It's not saying this design is on the Reese's stuff. The Reese's is just, why would you want it on there? Because you just want to stuff it in your damn mouth because it's so freaking good. You're just there to eat. You're not there to go, oh, this is cute. That's what she's suing them for. The fact that the Reese's pumpkin did not have a pumpkin face on it. Instead, was just a shape of a pumpkin. Now, I'm not surprised she's suing them. It's like, well, why isn't the Christmas tree green? Because the green on the outside of the wrapping paper has a tree green. Why isn't it green? Because that's not how it works. She wants $5 million. $5 million because the Reese's pumpkins don't have a face on them? Please do not let her win. Another death that we had this week is Ken Bowman, Packers center for Bart Starr, died at the age of 81 this week. And there's only a couple anniversaries this week. This one is The Impossible, came out 12 years ago this week. That is a movie based on the tsunami that killed all those people on New Year's Day or Christmas or whatever a while back. I think it had Naomi Watts in it. I think a young Tom Holland is in it also. So that came out this week 12 years ago. Now, speaking of that, I may as well stick with this. I just talked about how that dumbass, moronic woman who is suing Hershey's for no faces on the Hershey's pumpkins. Hershey's is releasing peanut-shaped Reese's peanut butter cups. Shaped. Peanut shaped. Reese's peanut butter cups. If you look at the wrapping paper, it looks like there's lines on to make it look like a peanut. Those lines are going to be on. It's Reese's peanut butter shaped peanut. Probably not going to be as good as the trees and the pumpkins because those suckers are like double or triple your Reese's peanut cup where the peanut's a bit thinner on top. It might still be good because it's still Reese's, but it's peanut shaped. There are no peanut designs on it. Never will be. Never should have because who gives a crap? Put it in your fucking mouth and eat it. That's what it's there for because it's delicious. More football. The Houston Texans, with a rookie quarterback and a rookie head coach, have gone to the playoffs this year. They just beat the Colts. They were the second game today. The Ravens-Steelers game was the first one. Steelers still might have a chance to go to the playoffs if, at this point now, if Jacksonville loses or Buffalo loses, they'll go to the playoffs. So, actually, I just wanted to bring that up because I thought that's a good story because I've been a fan of the Texans. I thought they played the Ravens first game of the season, and C.J. Stroud, who was their rookie quarterback, picked number 2 in the draft, looked pretty good against the Ravens. Now, at the time, I just clocked it as Ravens being rusty because they didn't practice any during preseason. But I did mention that. Despite the fact that the Ravens had the rust and they ended up winning the game 25-9, that C.J. Stroud still looked pretty damn good for a rookie. And I mentioned that the Texans fans were like, "Yeah, we think we'll keep an eye on stuff like that." So they appreciated my candor on that, and I've been a fan of his since. And when he had that concussion and was out for like 2 games, I was like, "Oh no!" But he came back and he got him in the playoffs. So we're going to see him in the playoffs. They'll be right now. I think they are presently the number 6 seed. And depending on what happens with the Jacksonville Titans game, if Jacksonville loses, guess what? The Texans become the number 4 seed and win the AFC South and get a home playoff game. Well, they'll be playing the Browns. But if Jacksonville, I think, will be going to the number 5 seed. But if Jacksonville wins, doesn't matter, Texans are in. They've got the number 6 seed locked down. So they will play the Chiefs. Oh, God. That's a hell of a game in Kansas City. So, yeah, interesting. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, the playoffs will be decided by 11:30. About 24 hours, 23 hours from now, the playoffs should be decided, and we'll have a general idea about that because the last game of the night is the I think it's the Bills Dolphins game, right? Yeah. It's Bills Dolphins. The winner of that one wins their division. So, and the other one, I guess. Does that mean the other one is out? I think it's on her video. Sounds really weird. Anyway, so we'll find out. Oh, the new Doctor Who season trailer debuted after the Christmas special. I thought I talked about this last week, but I might not have. Looks pretty interesting, and it's set to debut in May of 2024, so that was good to see that. The Ravens and the Orioles both won their division for the first time ever in history. Orioles won their division in baseball, and we won our division in the NFL and football. The second season of Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, is set to come out September 2024. So we didn't know exactly when that was going to come out, but we have the idea now. Horizon Zero Dawn TV show is coming based on another video game. Michigan versus Washington college football playoff. So we'll see how that goes with that. I think I talked about this before. Little Golden Book, A is for Alien, coming soon. It's a children's book which does the alphabet by using the movie Alien, and probably the whole Alien, all the Aliens movies. The OG Pokemon theme has been named the greatest in anime history. Jack Black has set to join the cast of the ever increasingly interesting cast for the Minecraft live action movie, which is getting a lot of intrigue now with the casting they've got there. He is supposedly set to play Steve, who is one of the main Minecraft characters. So I'm very intrigued because they got Jason Momoa and they got the other actress, Emmy Myers. I think is that who it is? Is from Wednesday, and who is who I know her second cousin or something like that. Minecraft movie. Jason Momoa, Pedro Pascal, Matt Berry, Emma Myers, Daniel Brooks, and now Jack Black. It's just I want to see that movie now. I think that's going to be a freaking insane movie. I think it's going to be outstanding. I think it could be the Barbie of 2025, to be honest. I think it's outstanding. It's a great idea. One more story to tell, but first couple of anniversaries. We do have a couple more and one death. Carlito's Way, one of my favorite Al Pacino movies, debuted 31 years ago this week. And The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, one of the best Westerns of all time, debuted 57 years ago this week. And Jack Squirick, an NFL linebacker, died earlier on late on Saturday. So the final story for this first episode of Dylan Knows of 2024. 2024 is an Olympic year. It is the Summer Olympics. They'll be in Paris in July. Guess who else is going to be in Paris in July doing commentating? That's right. Snoop Dogg is going to be helping NBC Universal with their Summer Olympics coverage. Don't know if he's going to be an analyst or if he's going to be describing what he sees. Remember, some of the funniest videos out there on YouTube land is him commentating on nature videos. So this could be fairly intriguing. So Snoop Dogg to help NBC Universal with their Summer Olympic coverage is something I never thought I would hear, but now I'm intrigued to see what they're going to do with him. So that's it for the first episode of 2024. We've got 51 more to go. Actually, it'll be more than that because I'll do my Oscar picks. And I guess I weave my Super Bowl prediction into my episode. So we'll actually do, I've got another, and then there might be a couple other double ones in there, but I have at least 51 more episodes to go, potentially 52 more episodes to go before we get to 2025. 2024 is going to be a contentious year with this goddamn election in November. Hopefully it's not going to be an issue and I won't be fighting the power in November. But we'll see what happens. But right now we're only in January. Disappointed so far in this year because of the stuff I mentioned earlier in the show, and I'm bleeding. Yay. Scratching myself to bleed. Ain't got time to bleed. Next week's episode, I will be home alone, actually, unless a winter storm rolls through. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's never going to happen. Winter camping returns for my scouts and my wife. So I'll have a free weekend. This upcoming weekend coming up. It'll be Martin Luther King weekend also. So I'll probably talk a little bit about Percy Jackson episode 5, obviously. Talk about the Golden Globes since they're later today. And maybe talk a little bit of the NFL playoffs that happened already. And then, we'll see. I always have plans to watch movies, and I got a whole bunch of new ones that I want to check out. And also I want to check out maybe some other Oscar ones. Like I had a plan, like I want to check maybe Maestro out and a couple other like Oscar potential ones just to get an idea. So I'm not just guessing here about what I think is going to be best picture, so like that. And then my new obsession is Anne Hathaway. I got a bunch of her movies, which I'm going to check out, which I haven't seen before. Check those out, and excuse me, and then there'll be some other shows as well, and there'll be football. So we'll see. I mean, my family's gonna be gone Friday night, all day Saturday into Saturday night, and they'll be back Sunday. No Ravens football because they got the bye, so we're not going to get our first game until the 20th to the 21st of January. So we got time on that. All right, buddy. Back to my first full week of work in 3 weeks, give or take 3.5, kind of. So we'll see what happens. But I said, yep, I'll be home alone next weekend. We'll be talking Golden Globes, Percy Jackson, episode 5, and anything else that rolls through here. Playoff seedings probably. Well, the playoffs already be underway, so we'll talk about them, I guess, a little bit too. But that's going to be it. Thanks for watching, and let's hope that 2024 gets better. Right now, disappointed.